Once again, I want to welcome every single one of you to the show. They call me Dr. Ava. I am an internal medicine hospitalist who has three kids, ages 13, 10, and 8. I've been married 10 years to a wonderful physician. I'm also an author who wrote a book called Paging Dr. You, geared to those interested in going into the medical field. I'm the owner of Dr. Eva B Coaching with the goal of coaching future medical students. I am hosting Health Moments with Dr. Ava for season 5 of the Hope TV. Health Moments with Dr. Ava uses a holistic approach to help you have a good and healthy life, all while keeping it fun and informative. During the show, though, you'll hear me give you general medical advice, never ever any specific one. So, as always, I recommend you seek the advice of your own personal doctor. Today's show is about Black women in medicine. Historically, Black women have long been disregarded in the US. Black women have been at the forefront of the struggle for justice and equality, yet their contributions have been largely overlooked in dominant social justice narratives. Similarly, a unique combination of demanding expectations can constrict Black women in medicine. The medical profession, however, does not confer any special protections. Black women physicians are simultaneously considered superhuman, yet were never enough. In 1864, Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler became the first Black female in the US to receive a medical degree from the New England Female Medical College. At the time, though, only 300 out of 54,543 physicians were women, all white women, until Dr. Crumpler arrived. Currently, we have 4.5% of physicians in the US, but only 2.5% are Black women. So let me say that again. It's actually 4.5% of physicians in the US are Black, but 2.5% are Black women. You may ask yourself, but why is so? I think there are three obstacles. One is people telling you that you can't make it. The second obstacle is people telling you that the only reason you do make it is because you're Black, as if to suggest that you're not good enough to make it on your own merit. And then maybe the third reason is you not believing in yourself. As a Black woman, you are considered a threat once you use your voice and bring attention to issues of racism and sexism. That being said, I want to introduce my next guest, Dr. Sarepta Isaac. Dr. Sarepta started her mission in health and wellness, advocacy, and education after noticing a tremendous need while treating her patients in her everyday work. She would routinely encounter patients who were diagnosed and being treated, sometimes for years, with certain ailments and still not know anything about their disease. Many times, patients would come to her simply to ask for explanations and clarification on medication, treatments prescribed by other providers. The passion and commitment to motivate, educate, and advocate came from this. After completing her undergrad studies at Pace University in 2003 in New York with a major in biology and minor in chemistry, Dr. Sarepta subsequently went on to medical school to pursue and receive her Doctor of Podiatric Medicine degree in 2011 from the New York College of Podiatric Medicine. She went on to residency training at South Nassau Communities Hospital in Oceanside, also in New York. She served as chief resident in the podiatric medicine and surgery residency program during her final year. At the end of her studies, she was awarded a completion of podiatric medicine and surgery degree with an added credential in reconstructive real foot surgery. Welcome to the show, Dr. Isaac.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
How
Dr.
are you?
Ava. Wonderful to be here.
I'm
I
so
am
happy you're
wonderful.
with
I'm
us today.
great. This is awesome.
I'm
Thank
so,
you.
so
Thank you
happy
for
you're here with
having
us
me.
today. So tell us a little bit more about you and your journey.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, that intro was so, I think it was so fitting, right, for what we're talking about today. And my journey, sometimes we don't often sit back and think about the journey, what it took for us to get here, and I think a lot of times it happens more so for us as Black women because we're always in this race, right? We feel like we always have to keep going, and we always have to move to the next step and get to that next goal. But it's great to be able to sit back sometimes and just hear where you've come from, hear how far you've come, and give yourself credit for that. You know what I mean? So this is wonderful. Thank you for having me. My journey has been A journey, right? It's been very interesting. Now I'm practicing here. I'm in private practice here in Atlanta, Georgia. Started my practice a year out of residency, which most people thought I was crazy. They still think I'm crazy because, who does that, right? You need to be practicing for a while before you can go into private practice. But moved here from New York with a small child. I have a 10-year-old daughter, single mom, got divorced during residency, which was another crazy aspect of the journey, and just came here and really started, hit the ground running. You know what I mean? Just trying to make the thing happen. And here we are.
And you're doing
So
great
here I
things,
am.
by the way. You're doing wonderful things
Thank
for the
you.
community.
Thank
I
you,
love
my
and
friend.
appreciate that about you.
Thank
So,
you.
first of all, how did you get
Mhm.
into medicine?
Wow. So I think my passion started, or my interest, I guess I should say, started in high school. In high school, I started to develop this interest in science. So I actually started from science, loving chemistry, falling in love with it. And interestingly enough, what got me interested in chemistry was because the first Black scientist that I
Mm,
ever had, scientist teacher that I ever had, was in the 11th grade. I still remember this woman. She came in, she was new to our school. Yeah, she came in and they introduced her as her being our new chemistry teacher. And I think that's when it kind of dawned on me, like, although I'm like in the 11th grade at this point, I guess I'm about maybe 16. And that's when I'm realizing that, wait, you're going to be our chemistry teacher? No other
yeah,
teacher looks like you.
that's
You know what
why
I mean? As a matter of fact, you
representation
look like,
matters, right? Because you saw yourself
that's
in her.
right.
She looked
Yes,
like you look like her. And
absolutely.
she was standing in front
That's
of you,
right.
teaching you. She was the chemistry teacher. You had never seen anybody look like her. And you were like, wait a minute,
Never.
she's
That's
right in
right.
front of me. I could do this too.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right. It
that's
was just
amazing.
like an awakening. Oh my
Yeah,
God, she was wonderful. And she poured so much into me, and just being herself. You know what I mean? I would watch her, how she would explain lessons, and she was so smart and so graceful. And it just showed me a different aspect. It showed me something else that I could be, along
right,
with the fact that I was interested in the sciences. You know what I mean? So I think
right.
that really helped to awaken, yeah, this interest in science.
So tell me, what drew you to podiatry?
Yeah, that's a good one. I get that question all the time. They're like, "You like feed? How do you how
Why
do you feel about
podiatry? Like,
podiatry?"
tell me.
Oh my gosh, so much. But the main reason really was because of a family um, occurrence that we had. I had an aunt who, growing up, she was a diabetic, and unfortunately, she was an uncontrolled diabetic, and she dealt with a lot of different foot ailments and issues as a result of her diabetes. And growing up, I would always hear about this one aunt, how she was constantly going to the doctor. But not just was she was constantly going to the doctor, but she was always going to the foot doctor, to the podiatrist all the time. Like we would hear about, she would, and come to find out later, in my studies, that if she was dealing with ulcers and infections and things like that. But I didn't understand it at that point. I just always hear her going to the foot doctor. I'm like, why is she always going there? What is the issue? Why that? And as I got older and I started to understand that it was a result of her diabetes, and for her podiatrist was everything, because she was trying to save her limbs, right? She was trying to save
Right.
her legs. And so, she would have weekly appointments with this podiatrist. And that really kind of got me very interested in the field. During college, I had an opportunity to shadow a podiatrist back home in Brooklyn, where it was actually two podiatrists who were brothers, and they had a huge few practices all over the city. And so I really got a chance to learn about the field of podiatry. How it
Right.
afforded you the opportunity to practice both medicine and surgery, which I thought was crazy because
Right.
traditionally
Right.
you think you have to pick one, right?
Is love
Friends.
transactional?
What is it? It's so good when you loving somebody and somebody loves you back. You know, you want that and somebody loves you back part.
What is love?
I feel like we just opened up the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
This is the story of a boy who was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help. And slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Well, look, you might not be popular, but my favorite character is Celestial because
One of the quotes that I wrote down in the book that kind of stood out to me was, "Love is the enemy of sound judgment."
She seemed like a very needy woman. And I can't even respect Andre because how do you prey on your friend's wife while he's incarcerated? Like, I just can't get with that. And maybe I got too invested in the book, That good quote.
I'm realizing that some people might have never heard of a podiatrist before. Right. So a podiatrist is a doctor of the foot. They do surgeries as well. They take care of your foot, your bunions, your diabetic issues, your neuropathy. If you have a broken toe or broken anything, they take care of anything that involves the foot. You want to say anything else? Your nails, your toenails, fungus, right?
All of it.
All of it. Yep. And the foot is a very important part of the body.
Yeah. Right. A lot of people don't realize that, we kind of take it for granted. It's funny. I tell people don't think about their feet until something happens, and then they call in my office like crazy, right? You're calling the answering service at 2:00 in the morning. But it is one of those things that once you can't use it, you realize how important it is.
Exactly.
In addition to the fact that, right, you take it for granted. But we deal with everything, the foot and the ankle. So anything from ankle fractures to, things like trauma in the lower extremity to sort of like aesthetic things like bunions and hammer toes and heel pain and stuff like that. So it's a wide range. And it affords you a good amount of things to do. Yeah.
So how we're essentially unicorns, me and you. Okay. It's not that many of us in the field of medicine in general. I mean, when you think of all the hundreds of thousands of doctors in the United States alone, only 4.5% are Black. And out of the 4.5%, about 2.5% are Black women. It's crazy to me to think that we make up about 13% of the population, but only 4.5% of physicians. That representation is not there, and I'm not surprised at all when patients have never seen, there's been so many patients I've never seen a Black doctor in their lives. I've never seen one when I was growing up. Aside from my parents, obviously, and that's very, very common. We live in the Atlanta area. Not that common in Atlanta. We're lucky here to have kids because you have a daughter. I have 3 kids. They are going to see Black doctors because we're in Atlanta. That's unusual. But for most places in the country, that is not the norm. So I want to ask you, what is it like being a Black woman in medicine? And tell us.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
you want the good, the bad, and the ugly? You want it all?
The good and the bad. I want to know what it's like being
censoring it.
Yes. What is like being you doing what you do?
Oh my gosh, it is crazy. It is. I mean, I start to tell people little stories and tidbits, and they're like, "No." I'm like, "I haven't even gotten to the good part. You have no idea. It is crazy." You know what I mean? We all have the same sorts of crazy stories. Anything from like you're rounding at the hospital, about to go see a patient, and someone stops you and asks you to pick up their trash because they mistaken you for the trash person. Because of course you got to be the trash person. You know what I mean? Or things like your business. I have a private practice. People come into my practice all the time, and new patients, and patients straight up tell me they are shocked that I am Dr. Isaac. They had no clue. They thought, they just
Just
did not
like
know. And
somebody else. Yeah.
right,
Yeah. And
right.
that's
There's an
that's
air of
because
shock to
that happens
them.
to all of us. That happens to all of us. Like you said, we all
Right,
have the same stories.
right, right. So there's just, and you
Being
know what? And
mistaken.
I think for us, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think for us, what's interesting is that we also get it from different sides, which is what I think a lot of people don't think about. We get it one side where we get just what we described, people being shocked that we're the doctor, people um, questioning the fact. I mean, I got asked one time for a patient straight up. They asked me for my credentials, as if I was carrying them in my lab coat. So we get at that part, and then we also get sometimes we get it. Unfortunately, if we're going to be 100% honest, is we may get it from our people who sort of do look like us as well, because there may be some issues there or some confusion there as well. So it's just really, like you said, you phrased it perfectly. We're a unicorn where a lot of different people don't. It takes them a second to understand it. Even if they kind of know, it's like, are you really the doctor though? Like for real? Oh,
Right.
okay. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's crazy. We have kind of built this defense mechanism where we're like, we brush it off. We're used to it now. But when we stop and think about it, like that thing, others are not dealing with that. You know what I mean? So for us to constantly have to justify who we are and reassure people like, yes, I promise you, I'm not wearing somebody else's lab coat. I truly am Dr. Isaac. You know what I mean? It gets tiring at times.
Right. So true. Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
Because throughout our whole career, we've been having to go through these microaggressions on a daily
Yeah.
basis, multiple times a day, that it becomes a normal. That's your normal. That's our
Yeah.
normal. But like you said, when you sit down and think about it, it's really not normal. It's not normal to have to defend yourself all
Right.
the time. It's not normal to have to prove yourself all the
That's right.
time. It's not normal to have to show people that you really belong. That's our thing. We belong.
Right. That's
It's
our
just
thing.
not
That's our
yeah, it's not normal to
right.
have to
Right.
always, always, always prove who you are. If I'm in the
Right.
hospital, it's because I belong here. My credentials
Right.
got me where I am, just like the next person.
Correct.
Yeah,
That's
and you
right.
always get confused or mistaken for the secretary, the social worker, the food person, the janitor, and not that there's
Kind of
nothing
laugh.
wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with
Absolutely
being
not.
all of
Right.
these things, but that's just not who you are. You want to be called
Right.
who you are, you know, and that's
Correct.
definitely
Right.
something that we're having to deal with on a regular. So, in your opinion, why is diversity in medicine so important?
Oh gosh, I think just for those reasons we just talked about, right? Because the diversity is needed. So hopefully one day, perhaps our children won't have to go through these constant microaggressions that we're having. Yes, and we can look at it from a standpoint of, yeah, we have gotten here where those who've come before us, a lot of them were not able to obtain these positions. And I think we have a responsibility to do a lot of the things that you're doing, utilizing your platform, which is phenomenal, to show people and to encourage pre-med students, those who may be interested in the sciences, to include them and say, hey, you can do this. It's important just for us to be able to get rid of this this right here that we're having to deal with. Hopefully our children know how to, they can practice in peace, practice the same way our white counterparts are practicing, never being questioned,
Right.
for who they are.
Yeah, that's very important.
So it's
That's very important.
yeah. Hopefully that can change.
Well, I gotta ask you this. Between seeing patients, being a mom, a business owner,
Yes.
traveling, how do you juggle everything on your plate?
Oh my God. I'm always going crazy, and you personally know that. So we're not gonna fake the front.
I understand.
We ain't gonna fake the front. Okay. You already know I'm always like, oh my God, this is crazy. Girl, I don't know. I think we just do it. What do you think? I think that as women, and as Black women, we have just built this. First of all, we multitask like a beast, okay? Because I could be talking to you now. You don't know if I don't have food on that stove cooking, and also, I'm making copies that I need for. Like, it's a lot of things might be going. Listen, right? When do we ever do one thing at a time? Like, who does that? So that's one. We multitask, and we prioritize, we organize, we do what we have to do. It's just what has to be done. I'm happy that there's a big movement around self-care, and I'm one who, absolutely am a believer in self-care. I will, with everything that I have going on. I'll get what I have to get done, but I won't spare a minute to go ahead and unplug. I'll be at the spa for a day. If I need a shopping day, I'm going to do that. You'll call me and I'll be like, oh, I'm in another country. I'm not here. I'll get back to you, something like that. So I will carve out self-care time. So I do that as well. That's extremely important because I believe that you can't pour into others if you're, from an empty vessel. So I do that. But we also do what we have to do, right? That's what it comes down to. A lot of us, we collectively, we haven't been afforded the opportunity to kind of just sit back and, whatever happens, and just roll with the punches. I think our experiences have showed us collectively, albeit we've had different experiences, but we've learned that you need to do what you got to do. And to get to this position where we are, I think we've had many, many experiences along the way. Like, you need to get it done. Period.
Oh yeah.
Get it done.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
So,
you have to work like
that's
2
it.
to 3 times harder just to be able to be given half the recognition. Isn't that something crazy?
That's right.
It's true. And we've been so conditioned to having to do that from the beginning that it becomes a habit. So you just continue. You're having to just do anything that you need to do to maintain, to make sure you're successful, to make sure your family has what you didn't have growing up.
That's right.
So it's just embedded in us. We're just hard workers. That's why we're here today. You have to be a Black
That's
woman
it.
in medicine in this position now.
Right.
We all had the same experiences. You have had to
That's right.
have worked 2 to 3 times harder just to be afforded half the recognition. And I'm hoping that in the near
That's right.
future,
Minimum.
minimum. And I'm hoping this changes because it's not fair. It's not fair.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
And I share that same sentiment. I hope for our children, I hope that we're laying the foundation that they don't have to, that model doesn't have to be true for them. Work twice as hard and, deal with the microaggressions. But for now, this is what we do. And all we could say, I guess, along the way, make sure you take care of yourself, take that time that's needed, unplug when you need to, and then get back into it because that's what's needed to survive being a Black woman in medicine today. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Today, we're going to be making some southern fried okra. I know you guys probably saying, ooh, I don't like okra, it's too slimy or whatever. But I'm going to tell you, the way we're going to deep fry this thing, you're not going to taste any slime. Let's go.
A lot of people find it hard to bring up concerns about their health to their doctor. Why do you think advocating
Mhm.
for yourself is so important, and why is it sometimes so hard?
I think it's many things. I think it's hard for people to advocate for themselves. First of all, because they're fearful. They are
Mhm.
scared, right? They're scared. I think traditionally it's been like this whole thing where a doctor is, the be all, the last say, and whatever they say, they don't question. And that's not a practice philosophy that I hold. I tell my patients, personally, when you come to my practice, I am a co-captain in your health. Right. I'm seeing many people but you are an expert in yourself. And so I can tell you based off my studies and my experiences, I can give you recommendations and treatments that I know to be effective for your specific diagnosis or ailment. But you have a responsibility to tell me if you feel otherwise, if you feel, and we'll have a discussion about that. Perhaps I might have prescribed something or recommending something that you've had an adverse reaction to, right? You're responsible to partner with me, right? This is a partnership. And I think people have been fearful to talk to their doctors that way because doctors don't usually invite them to do so. That's the first thing, right?
Right,
And then the
right.
second thing is, I think that for a lot of people as well, because of what we were talking about before, if the doctor doesn't look like them, you imagine, let's say a young black, a young female, maybe in her 20s. I've been in this experience. I've had this experience, going to a doctor, an older white male in his 60s. We have nothing in common. I'm
Mm.
trying to get through this visit as quick as possible, sir. I guess whatever I don't even know much, you might be, and then sometimes us doctors, we get into the lingo, the jargon, and there's 15 minutes to this visit and we're out. I mean, you know what I mean? So you can't relate to that person. And for a lot of minorities, especially if they can't relate to their doctor, there's fear, there's people do not understand what's going on with their health. I think it's multifactorial. So many things
They
going
don't
on,
trust.
right?
They don't trust because of what happened before.
They don't
It's many
trust.
things, many
Exactly.
things. But that's
Oh my
why
gosh.
representation matters, and that's why I'm so glad you're doing this to
Right.
see how wonderful you are,
Thank
how much
you.
of a boss you
Thank
are,
you. Thank
and
you, my
how you
sis.
and I
Likewise. She like the
community
biggest boss. She's like
is
the biggest boss, y'all. But okay. Okay.
because you're rare, like you even more rare than me. I'm internal medicine, like I know 2.5%, but you are even more rare. A black podiatrist, and then a black podiatrist who has her own practice. I mean, come on.
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't even think there's anything
I
like that within 50 miles of you practicing. So
uh
you probably
not
haven't
a
even
lot.
researched it, but it's true.
I don't, it's
Not many.
depressing, no, but yeah, not many, and so that's another point. It's not many of us. And sometimes like we have to, we deal with certain things within ourselves. Like, we read a lot about imposter syndrome. I
Mhm.
remember when I first graduated residency and I started attending like my state conferences, my state medical conferences, you get your CMEs and do your lectures and stuff. It's like, I don't, so that means I done graduated med school, graduated residency, everything. And these are my colleagues, but nobody, I do not feel like they were
Yes.
my colleagues because
Yeah, like you
the
look
exact
around
opposite
and
of me.
yeah, there's nobody that
Everything
looks
was
like
opposite.
you.
It
Mhm.
was older white male. I was even like, let it be a younger white male. I mean, let me see some white female. Let me see something come back, but again, with us trying to promote diversity in medicine, regardless of the field that you want to go into, or diversity in an allied health profession, we just need more of us. We just need more diversity. It's to the benefit of the patient, to the benefit of fellow practitioners. You know, we need to see us out. Our voices, we need to be at the table, right? Because we're
You-
being, people who look just like us are being treated. So.
Yep. We do. And it's not because we're not smart, and it's not because we can't do it. It's those three obstacles that I'm thinking they are. Either somebody told you you can't do it and you believe them and you quit,
Right.
or somebody is telling you, well, the only reason you will make it is because you Black, like affirmative action, so that you
That
don't
one,
believe in
right.
yourself, or like the third, you don't believe in yourself. Again, I think it's one of those
Right.
three things.
Right.
If we can instill that in our young Black women earlier on and let them know, don't listen to what
That's
people
right.
say. If you believe in it and you know you can do it, go ahead and push yourself. And it doesn't matter if you're
That's
in
right.
because of affirmative action. You're in at the end of the day.
Right.
Okay.
You're still in. Right. You're still here. That's the I don't
Um,
right.
exactly. All of that
That's the
extra doesn't
message right there.
right.
Hmm.
So
Right. Right.
what three lessons would you impart to the up and coming young Black female physician that you wish you had known in your training or the first few years as an attending?
Oh my gosh, that is so
Three
good.
lessons.
I love that question. That's a good one. That one is juicy. Let's see. Gosh, one? No, this gets me so excited. But one is something that you and I, like, we practice this all the time, and we even say it, right? This is our mantra, that you
Yep.
need to remind yourself that you belong. You
Right.
seriously, that imposter syndrome, I was not ready for it. When I graduated, I thought once I got there, that's it. I know I had to like double. Is that really my name on that degree? So whatever you need to do, you belong. Number two, do not allow people to tell you who you are. Right?
Mhm.
You tell people who you are. Sometimes people want to tell you or they want to box you. That's something that I went through a lot, especially in the very beginning of my attending career. When people told me nobody does that. You do not go to a new state, practice with a group for a year and open up your practice. You don't even know anyone in the state. And I would explain to people, no, I have this great business idea. This is how I'm going to do it. They're like, nobody does that. And then I would sit back and say, well, just because nobody else does, that doesn't mean I can't do it. Maybe you can't do it. I could do it. Maybe you can't do it. You know what I
That's that.
mean? So don't let, right? People sometimes like to tell you who you are and what you can do. And you're like, oh, you talking about yourself. You're not talking about me. So imposter syndrome, I would say. Don't let people tell you who you are. And then keep pushing, right? I guess it's kind of more of number two. Don't stop as well, because sometimes people like to kind of tell you, okay, that's enough, keep pushing, keep going. If it's something that you truly desire, right, keep going for it. Don't let people define you. They don't put you in a box. That's when I really get when they're trying to put me in a box. I'm gonna break the box.
I like
But
they always
so
try
those
to
are my
put us
three.
Black women in a box. It's time for us to come out
Right,
of the box
right.
and show them that, we're capable of anything we set our minds to.
That's right.
I do like
That's
that. I
right.
do like
That's right. We
Yep.
are.
Yep.
We are.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to come and show, our viewers what you're about, teaching them about podiatry, medicine, because you are very inspiring. I know a lot of people look up to you because of what you've been able to accomplish and what you continue to accomplish. And the things that you are doing in the community, it's amazing. So kudos to you. And I know you're super busy, so I appreciate you taking the time to come here and talk to us and the viewers.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ava. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor. And I hope that something resonated with your viewers and, they take away the message that you can be here as well. We want you here. We're waiting for you. We're waiting for you to join us.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
So why does representation matter? Research suggests that patient-provider racial and gender concordance can have many, many benefits. A Black female patient receiving care from a Black female doctor has more trust, better communication, a shared medical decision-making. And in addition, studies also indicate that racial and ethnic minority physicians are more likely to practice primary care and serve in underserved communities than their white counterparts. And that's very important because a lot of underserved communities have African Americans that don't have access to care. Currently, only 2.5% of doctors in the US are Black women. How can we increase the number and change the face of medicine? Well, I think we must start with our children. Building the foundation for education as early as possible is imperative for successful goal planning. There are programs out there that are aimed at getting more girls and women into STEM. And the sooner young girls start these programs, the more prepared they are for college with knowledge and also even possible scholarships. Another thing that I would suggest is read to your children. Making reading and learning a daily ritual will build their love of learning and also establish the practice, not as a chore, but as a way of life. And that is important. Get them help. If your children are in need of a tutor or a mentor, seek help for them. Because sometimes as a parent, we don't know everything. I mean, I don't really know math that much. I'm not the best at math. It's been a long time. So I get a tutor for my children when it comes to math. I'm not even going to try. So that way I can make sure that they're successful and that they continue to prosper. Also, positive nurturing, words of affirmation for your children's future and present greatness is imperative. Letting your children know that you are interested, invested in their dreams and goals will go a long way towards helping them reach their fullest potential. More Black doctors simply mean more Black lives saved and fewer health problems. More Black doctors also mean greater trust in the system, better communication. More Black doctors also simply give patients hope that the world is committed to providing equitable healthcare for all. I didn't have a Black doctor growing up. You can't be what you cannot see. My goal is to pave the way for other little Black girls that look like me that want to be a doctor. I can let them know that it's possible because if I can do it, so can they. Thank you again for watching the show today. I hope to see you next time.